Check. What's up, everybody? Of course, it's your boy DJ Spyda the Don with my brother. Man, we go so far back, like 4 flags on a Cadillac. You know what I'm saying? It's Facts Podcasting with my bro D.Horton. What's up, Mississippi's own? Yeah, we go so far back. People don't know. You know what I'm saying? How you doing, bro?
I'm blessed, man. Happy to be here, man. Good to be talking to you. I know it's a lot going on in the world or whatever, but man, regardless of the situation, it's always good to connect with people, man, that you grew up with in your childhood. So it's always a good time for me.
I hear you, bro. I think one thing I can say is that once we talk about our experience, of course, is a little different than a lot of people's experiences because we grew up in a place like, of course, I'm originally from Florida, but if you don't know, I spent about 4 to 5 years in Mississippi, and I ran across Mr. D.Horton here in our adolescence. And for me personally, going from Florida to Mississippi was much of a culture shock. But you growing up there, I don't know if you're originally from Mississippi, right? You grew up born and raised?
Well, I was born in Detroit, but I mean, I for the most part grew up in Mississippi.
All right. So like for me, it was just a general culture shock, and then of course you grow up and you start, oh, you're going to Mississippi, like kick it. Right. But then you go there and like it's kind of, especially Columbus, for me wasn't what they try to tell you being in Mississippi's like. You know what I mean?
For sure, man. For sure.
Then I went to school in Caledonia, of course. So,
right.
Football, running track for a team that mascot is to this day still the Confederates. It was really kind of insane. You know what I'm saying? But it's one of them things like, you know, we have a lot to talk about today, and I think me and you have a perspective just from growing up in a place that inherently systematically oppresses you differently and more than other places. And now that people are seeing it bubble to the surface, me and you have we lived it in a different way. You know what I mean?
Right. Absolutely, man. I think what as a kid growing up in that environment, I think what happens is because you actually live it, you don't necessarily make a big deal about all the small things that really add up to be a really big experience. Like maybe the segregations of the schools, or how the neighborhoods are segregated, and it's like the schools being Robert E. Lee Middle School, or the Confederate or Heritage Academy, or Caledonia Rebels, or Confederate. The Confederate. It's like you grow numb to it to the point where you don't really understand how much is going on until you get back outside of that state and you look back at the education system, which is worst or second worst in the country. I don't know. It's like bottom 2 every year.
Almost everything. Like the only thing they first in Mississippi and Alabama is like damn near obesity. You know what I'm saying? Which is crazy. And diabetes.
Or and like sports or stuff related to like physicality, but anything related to intelligence, man, we're not ahead in any category.
I feel you. I think since we're on that topic, bro, one of the things for me is just of course, when I first moved there, I was originally supposed to go to New Hope. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna be a Trojan. All right, bet. I can get down with that. Right. Oh, we're gonna actually go to Caledonia. I'm like, okay, what's the mascot? Confederates. What?
Right.
And just to let you know how mentally triggering this whole situation was for me, like we were at one point, we were the black people. Keep in mind, the black people at Caledonia, we make up damn near 80-75% of all the sports teams. So
right.
Like we might be like a small percent, but we make up all the forward-facing things at that school. And we as a community, we did what do you call it, when you do a petition? We did a petition to change the name to the Cougars. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Nothing crazy. It's still gonna start with a C. You ain't gotta change all the logos. Just change the Confederate part to just Cougars. You know what I mean?
Right.
And the athletic department head was like, "I will die before we change." He literally said this. He'll die before he sees the name change of the mascot. You know what I mean? For Confederates and Cougars. So that I'm saying that's the type of acute. It's not even acute at that point. It's just overt. It's just so in your face that I think you, or any kid that grows up in Mississippi, you get used to it. Like,
exactly.
All right, bet. You just keep moving. You know what I'm saying
100%.
And I'll just say this, man. just the fact that you've taken everything we grew up with and you moved around, you grew up and you kind of use this kind of thing to mold your experiences and like into your music. You know what I'm saying? And still keep that authenticity. I mean, like, and a lot of people don't understand how Mississippi music is really intrinsic to like, not just to the experiences, but to like the soul of what it is to be from Mississippi. I'll tell you that. Like anything Banner puts out, you put out some modern day Mississippi rappers. You know, I'll even say this, even what Soulja Boy's early music. You know what I mean? How intrinsic to the style of what Mississippi was at that point. Like that's important. You know what I mean?
100%.
I'm saying like, I'm like, we can even go as far as talk about Tito Lopez. We can talk about as far as Big Crit. You know what I mean? What their experiences are, what they say in their music, how soulful it really is, and how intrinsic to what the style is. You know what I mean? But,
absolutely.
So for anybody who's never heard your music before getting to any other topics, you know, D.Horton is my brother. We go far back in Mississippi Governor School. You know what I'm saying? Out there, doing backflips off the dang benches and stuff, and getting ultra competitive at basketball games with these preppy white school kids out of nowhere. Me and you got really heated at one game. They know what was going on. They just moved out of the way.
Nah, you know, I mean, those experiences, man, like, you know, for me, I was always like the kid who represented so many more other kids. Like, you know, a lot of the kids that were at those camps, they didn't really come from the neighborhood I came from. So for me to be at those, in those like science camps and, you know, like honor roll camps and governor schools, things like that, it just was the opportunity for me to go and experience something different other than just sports. Like a lot of people in my neighborhood, if they weren't playing sports or in the band, they weren't necessarily traveling for school activities. My mom is obviously an educator, administrator now. So, I mean, she, you know, she was adamant about us being participants in school other than just sports. So, I mean, I just took advantage of it, and I started it because, truthfully, there was a lot of the girls that I was interested in was in those, you know, programs and stuff like that. So I took advantage.
It's a good motivator, bro. Don't make no discuss. Hey, if that girl gets you there, and that's all, the experience is all that matters.
Listen, I don't mind at all if that's what got me there, especially if it's something that's going to help me in the long run anyway. If I can get a little scholarship money or something like that out of it too, no harm, no foul, you know what I mean? And so, and my parents understood that. They didn't want to, like, try to get me to go to an all-boys school or anything like that. They knew that it wasn't, you know, that wasn't a part of my process. But, you know, I was focused enough to where I wasn't going to be distracted by girls, but you know, that's a healthy motivator for a 15, 16, 17-year-old kid. So, I mean, you know, and once we got there, it just was an experience for me it was wild to see how people, like, took me in. You know, sometimes I had the braids, sometimes I had dreads, and I was from where I was from, and I talked how I talked. And then get into these environments, and then if I excelled, it was always interesting to see how people, you know, viewed me. Like, even my professors at Mississippi State when I went to college, I was a biology pre-med major, and I mean, you know, they kind of like, they had to adjust to seeing somebody who come in. I might smell like weed. I might be in the back of the class listening to my headphones. And, you know, they just didn't understand how it came so easy for me. And it wasn't that it came easy for me. It's that my parents prepared me. You know, education was important. I was fortunate enough to go to private school in Georgia and private school in Alabama and things like that. So once I got to Mississippi, man, it was almost as if I was repeating 7th grade.
Yeah, facts.
And so, you know, no, seriously, like when I got back there, it was like repeating 7th grade. It was like going to the 7th grade all over again. And so, you know, I just took advantage of being ahead and tried to, you know, become a leader. I didn't want to become an ego thing. I wanted to equip me to be a leader. You know, like, okay, if I am advanced in certain areas, then, you know, let me utilize that to help other people. So that's what I enveloped my entire persona into, including my music. You know, like, okay, well, if I understand these things and people might not understand them around me, let me use my voice, some hot beats, and put together a pattern of words that's catchy enough for you to sing along, but informative enough for you to leave with some kind of information. And that's really what I intend to do with everything I put my pen to. Like, I just want to inform people in some way. And the trick is not to inform them. I had the information. The trick is to put it in like the right BPM or the right beat, the right rhyme pattern, the right rhymes together, so they'll want to listen to it. Because I have a lot to say, so that's why I try to like challenge myself. It's like how to become, palatable to where people want to hear what I have to say.
So you really try to focus on developing that vehicle, you know what I'm saying, for the message, which is important.
Right.
Which I feel like a lot of the creativity from having less that, like, in Mississippi, you don't have everything given to you, but you have a way to, like, you have to force to be creative to actually find a way to make things like be, you know what I mean? Not just say like,
right.
Oh, like it's not like, I got homeboy who just makes beats, has Fruity Loops. Nah, bro, he might just have a garage band. Might need to find somebody who can play the guitar, play the piano, and play it in there, not just put it together. You know what I mean? So I think everything you're saying is brilliant. I feel like a shirt brand said, I am brilliant. Go buy his merch, by the way.
Right, absolutely.
But just to know that, like, how you see yourself is very similar to kind of me and you are very similar, by the way. Like, I came from Mississippi, from Florida, was in a gifted program. So I came to Mississippi. Right. Y'all don't do this? Like, I don't do it. Right. And so, like, you got to be able to be ahead, but also let you actually have that opportunity to, like, okay, I know a little bit more, but I can use this to my advantage. And not be lazy with it, but be able to be, okay, I can be of value, not just to myself, but to other people around me.
Absolutely. It's important because, it's a great line in between being offensive and allowing it to, propel you to a higher position. Ultimately, I'm very religious, coming from the South, being in the Bible Belt. And that's the case for most people, have some relationship with God. But I truly depend and believe that God is the reason for any characteristic or attributes that I have that people might be, might think are positive. So ultimately, I don't take credit for it. I just know that, if I am the vehicle for improvement, for evolution, adaptation, any kind of manner, then, I think that's just what I'm doing. I'm walking in my purpose. I don't see it as like an extra point or anything of extra value. It's just my purpose in life. Some people's purpose is to make sure the ground is clean. Some people's purpose is to make sure all the kids have, warm food at lunchtime. That's a purpose. That's value in that. Feeding the cafeteria women, feeding your children every day while you're at work getting money. There's value in that. That's their purpose. I don't look at my purpose as anything different than that. It's all one puzzle. I just realize it's my purpose. So if God wants me to stand on the platform and speak in a manner that people across the scale can understand, whether you're the president or whether you're a convict, or whether you're a child or a doctor or a lawyer or a street dude, I feel like you can listen to my music and you can find value in something that I'm saying as far as your faith is concerned, as far as, determination and being resilient and understanding your position in society. I think there's something for everybody. That's what I feel like my purpose is.
I bet, man. I feel like I do feel like that's your style of music. I feel like you're able to convey a message that resonates with people on multiple levels. And I feel like part of your message is a part of what we're seeing Black people needing to reckon with right now. And so we're going to go ahead and go into the topic that everybody's talking about.
Right.
So if you don't know, there was a gentleman. This is where was that? Where was that at? Where did it happen? Minneapolis, Minnesota, right? Mm-hmm. And this man was arrested, and 4 cops have been fired for an abusive arrest where they put their knee on his neck. He's pleading that he couldn't breathe, and later on that day, he did pass, unfortunately. These cops have been fired from the force. They're also being, I think the DA is getting ready to bring charges against maybe one of the cops or all the cops. I'm not sure. But it's just, to me right now, as a young Black man, I'm 30. I'm finally middle-aged. Goddamn.
Right. No, I'm still young, man. I don't know. I'm still young,
I still feel young. My knees don't feel young, but I feel young.
Right. There you
go. But overall, like, I feel like this message this message needs to be heard. It's not just about militancy, but it's more about wisening up to all the things that are going to happen, that are happening around you. not being down for the fight, being able to understand how to fight smarter. Be able to understand how these things affect you. So it's not about, oh, this don't benefit me, I'm not going to vote. But know how to place your vote in a place where you'll get the most outcome for your vote. I know a lot of people are right now talking about, oh, Joe Biden, right? He slipped up. He said some dumb comments, right? But if you think about, oh, I'm not going to vote, but you got to be strategic with your vote. It doesn't matter if Trump is your other option. Place your vote, which will most benefit you. That's a local election, a state election, national election. Same thing. I feel like when it comes to this situation, both me and you have seen disenfranchisement at the bottom. That's because Mississippi is at the bottom, and then when you see what's at the bottom of the bottom, you know what's the bottom.
Exactly.
And for generations, we've seen in Mississippi, like, of course, food deserts all over the place, in white and black, period. We've seen white people who vote for Republican people, which is against their interests, but just that's what they grandma and their granddaddy and their parents voted. And the Republicans in power don't give a shit about them, just like they don't give a shit about us. They still don't got health insurance. And so overall, like, when you saw this, when you saw the video, for me, it was just, I couldn't go through another Philando Castile. I couldn't go through another Eric Garner. We was already arguing on Instagram and Facebook about Doja Cat. We're already arguing over here about such and such. We're gonna talk about that stuff, by the way. We're already arguing about such and such. You know, Joe Biden. We're already arguing about all this stuff. We already been through all the shootings. We already got the kid who died in Georgia. You know what I mean? So when you saw this video of this, how did you feel? And what do you feel like your music can do to bring people, not just comfort, but able to, like, bring the message? I know you got a lot of good songs that fit this message. But what do you think? What song do you think? Not just what song, but what do you feel like your music can do for a message on this topic?
Well, so the first part, to answer your question about how it made me feel, I try to, like, embody everything about society because I know that I'm a communicator. I know that my purpose is to narrate the times, and it takes people to be intrinsically attached to society in a way in which you feel everything. So I allow myself to go through that. I allow myself to go through the emotions of every negative thing that happens in the world so that, you know, the universe and God can better use me to speak to people who need help with that. Because that's my purpose, I allow myself to go through that. So, I mean, I just initially felt frustration. Like, this makes me feel as though this music is not getting into anybody because ultimately, you know, this feels cyclical at this point. It's like, since Rodney King, that's really, like, I wasn't conscious of Rodney King.
Since before him, bro.
But that's the first thing I started hearing when I was like, oh, people just saying, like, LA Riots and King, I don't know what's going on, but it was a hashtag. It was the equivalent of a hashtag. And just really for about basically every season of my life since then, there's been another one. And just makes me feel as though, like, the work is being void. It's kind of like falling on deaf ears. And then immediately after the initial, like, pessimistic outlook and the defeat almost, I get right back to it, man. I allow it to motivate me. I ingest it. I digest it. I analyze it, and I allow it to motivate me. And this time, what I wanted to do, what my approach was, I wanted to just humanize my emotion. I didn't want to come with anger, which has been pretty much the basis and foundation of a lot of the music I've created when it comes to situations like this in society, is like anger because I was confused. I didn't understand necessarily why a person that's been oppressed for the most part of the history of this society and even societies before America do I feel like the number one enemy when, I mean, I didn't really come take nobody's land or steal a people from their home or manipulate a people into giving me their land in a basically a criminal act or criminal way. I didn't do any of those things. So why would I feel as though the person who I did offend somebody? Why don't people look at the people who actually did that in an offensive manner? You know, and I'm not just talking about white people looking at black people this way. I mean, you know, I didn't do anything to Chinese people, and I feel like I still get that perspective of like, you know, I don't want to be around a black man no matter what. I'm like, well, I'm not the one who took from you.
Even Hispanic.
Yeah. I didn't take from the Hispanic man. I didn't take from the Native American, but they still allow the view to treat me as though I'm the worst there is. And I just think that there's a foundational element to that in this country that I wanted to attack this time from a more, I wanted to humanize my emotions. And so this time I didn't come with anger. I wanted to basically, you know, shed tear on the track and just let people know, like, these are the fears I live with. This is the PTSD I live with, where no matter what I have in the car, I could be in the car riding with clean license, clean insurance, clean shoes, clean T-shirt, clean doggone dashboard, full gas tank, good tag, good insurance. And if the police get behind me, my blood pressure will rise. I can feel my body become tense almost to the point where I expect something negative to happen, and if something negative doesn't happen, I'm just blessed.
Yeah, you just release that breath. Like you get that. I'll say it is. I've got to the point where I don't just react like blood pressure, but I feel like my skin tingle. Like
Exactly. No.
My heart will drop, and my like, oh man, come on, bro. My skin tingles, like, my heart drops.
Like, and then it's a difference in I offended someone. Like if I took something from somebody, and then I know they're looking for me. The difference in that is I know what opposes the opposition, or I know what enrages the opposition is whether I took something from them or I offended them, or I stepped on their shoes, or I scraped their car or something. I know what to look for. I know what angle they come for. Man, I don't know where the root of this perspective of, you know, dehumanization of my people has come from, to the point where I don't know if this person could feel this way because they agree with their wife, or because they had an altercation with a black man in high school, or maybe their parents were teaching them this as a childhood, and it's just in their childhood, and it's just ingrained in their upbringing. I don't know what the necessary situation is. So now I got to approach every situation that way. And people are saying, well, you know, not all police are bad. It's like, well, not all black men are bad. Mm-hmm. But because the majority of what I'm being programmed to see is people treat me in a manner, then I'm going to respond in a manner as if somebody's looking at me bad. And then you'll get into a situation where you interact with these people, and then you like, they coming up to your door and you got your hands out the window, or you like shook, and they're like, why are you acting this way? And that bothers me because,
why are you acting guilty? Like, I don't trust you. Like last week, I done saw 3 people get popped for no reason.
Because you're not understanding that I was born in my guilt. My guilt, when I was born, before I was conscious of my guilt, it was already on my skin. It was already in my hair. It was already in the size of my nostrils, and the way my lips are shaped, and the way we walk, and the way we talk, and the way my pants kind of hang off, you know, off the side of my hip a little bit, to where you can see my boxes a little bit. You know, not that I'm sagging or saying, some look at my butt. It's my style, my swag, my flow, how I walk. I don't know what part of that offends you. So at this point, I had to defend every part of that, because I don't want the way my dreadlocks flow to make you feel like I'm an enemy.
Yeah. I even tell you this, I remember when I first got my dreads back in the day. Which you remember, like, I had my little dreadlocks back then, but this is when you was rocking the braids to the back.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
Still, even for us, even with the different hairstyles, you still get looked a different way when you have dreads or braids. When you have a part in a certain part of your hair, you know what I mean? You do a Gumby. Like, even though you think, oh, you look cool, in a second, they can take you for anything else other than. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, remember, like, when I first started growing my dreads, and some girl was like, "Oh, aren't dreads dirty? Oh, why do you want to have them?" And like this, when they first was real short, and I'm like, "Yo, like I'm growing them out." Then it got real long. Oh, your dreads are so nice. They're so well kept. Like you can have dreads. They can be real real. You can have really knotted dreads where they like you have like a couple of dreads formed together. I mean, that's not a bad thing. It's a style. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And, you know, in Florida, we have the people that we call.
I'm about to say, you in Florida, man. You know,
Yeah.
you understand. You understand.
Yeah.
And I was coming up in Atlanta, so I had seen so much, you know, different situations coming up that I wasn't really caring about what nobody was saying when I first started doing mine.
Exactly. So like when people like somebody, yo, why would I want to conform to your standard of what looks good if I'm just going to get a different reaction by the time it grows longer, or by the time you get around to, oh, you look, I've seen you with them now. They look really good. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It doesn't matter, but I feel like the thing is that we have to continually as Black people, this is not meant to be a total political podcast, but it's going to be,
I don't mind at all.
No.
I live that life.
Yeah, so I'm saying like we go through this situation where we're like you said, we're already seeing ourselves like I don't know if you read the book by W.E.B. Du Bois. I have it here, I think.
Yeah. I read W.E.B. Du Bois.
Double consciousness.
Yeah, double consciousness of a Black man.
Yeah, so like that whole situation is like we are born. If like I'll be real with you, the Black man, the man who grows up and sees himself outside of him just, oh, I'm just Black, or just
right.
That's when you were like, when you go outside of where your neighborhood, when you go outside of your other places where you're the majority, and you go out in places, that's when you start developing that double consciousness. You know what I'm saying? So like me and you going to these other camps, going to the W and go to these business schools or governor schools, or like doing like, you know, go to private school, going to like a really, really diverse area, like where we grow up, travel or something, right? That's where you start developing that double consciousness. And you start understanding, like, I can't just see myself as Black. Because, you know, the white people, they don't just see themselves as white. They see themselves as, oh, I'm Swedish American. Or
right, of course.
I'm Jewish American. Oh, they allow themselves to have a double consciousness. That's how they move in the world. Right. Which is why when I was a kid, everybody asked me, what's your ethnicity? I would say African American.
Right.
There's no way I'm going to deny myself, even though I can't pinpoint a country. I'm not going to deny myself the root. You know what I mean? Right. So like this whole situation as Black people, as African American people, we need to find a way to disengage from like the matrix of what we're automatically born into and placed in, which they're going to put us in anyway.
Right.
We actually understand that process. We can actually come to ourselves as a group of people. And I feel like every time we get into a situation like Philando Castile or the one that just happened recently in Minneapolis, I'm sorry, I'm blanking on his name. We need to be able to say all their names. Land as well. Even down here, Trayvon Martin. I'm down the street from. I'm like, this is like 20 minutes away from Sanford. 20 minutes away.
Right.
But like, as a Black people, we show outrage, but then the problem is we don't enact that outrage into something that turns into the next level. Like we might protest, we might riot or whatever, right? But what happens next besides hiring the attorneys? What legal action are we asking? We're asking these white politicians like, yo, do something. But when are we gonna change that conscience? And then, okay, they're not doing something. I gotta beat these cats out. We gotta find a way to put somebody else who's gonna do something in office. You know what I mean? And so it's a lot of processes that when we have our conversation of your music being political, being a statement on not just your experiences. Not even your music is not even about being political. It's about being a statement on what you've lived through. That's why I think, my brother, when I listen to your music, it's about a statement of your life and what you lived through, and then things that you're experiencing. You know what I mean? So, like when we take it, let's even go to another situation. Is the Doja Cat situation? We talk about our brothers and sisters who are mixed race. You know what I'm saying? Who unfortunately through their life they're naturally forced in a box of like having to pick between the double conscious, which is a very box to be in. When you heard about the Doja Cat situation, about her being in these chat rooms and stuff, like how did you feel about? I understood what she was trying to, her apology was trying to say, but to me, if you're going to be not just a millionaire, but be in a public facing thing, you got to educate yourself on like how the world, not just how the world sees you, but how you view yourself through a prism. You know what I'm saying? So how do you feel about the Doja Cat situation, bro?
Well, I mean, you know, number one, I'm not super judgmental. I don't really hold, acts against people's character as much as I probably because I realize everybody makes mistakes. People act differently when they understand the spotlight is on them, and things they do in private. I more so look at the intent of her actions. Was she just fooling around, being stupid? Probably drunk or high, or was she, trying to harm people or whatever like that? So I don't necessarily believe in the cancel culture. I think cancel culture is fake anyway, because ultimately you're bringing people more attention by claiming that you're canceling them. But I don't really necessarily look to the Doja Cats of the world for leadership anyway. I prescribe to people that are authentic and genuine in their belief and their impact in society. I don't necessarily mean you have to be like a upstanding and go to church every Sunday in order for me to listen to you. I'm saying when people speak on things, I want to know that they really believe on that, even if it's their neighborhood culture or representing their street. I want to know that you really stand on that. You really believe on that. That's something that you really live. And if it's true, then speak your truth. I listened to Chief Keef a lot when he first came out because that was authentic music. Whether you say he was perpetuating a negative impact on society, or his implications were, more murder, higher murder rates and things like that, man, I look at it as well, he didn't create the situation he was living in. He didn't build those neighborhoods to create the oppression or create the ideology that their resources are limited to the point where you got to kill somebody for milk and bread. He didn't create that situation. He grew up. He was born in that situation. And he tried to survive the best way he could, and this is what he figured out. And I respect that. I don't respect people who insinuate these activities and then they don't necessarily. So, for instance, before I allow this situation with Doja Cat to get me up in arms, I'd much rather disassociate with a brother who is perpetuating a lifestyle of drugs or gang violence or something like that, and they're not necessarily living it, because your impact is far greater. You're leading people down a path that you're not really necessarily living. And I won't say no names or anything like that because I don't know everybody's lifestyle before.
We all know who you're alluding to. It's all right.
Yeah, but if somebody is saying, live in the kitchen serving cocaine,
and they nothing in their life.
And then, even if they did that before, speak on doing that before, but don't entice people to continue to do that if you're not necessarily doing that, and you also understand the negative impact it has on people most of the times. A lot of people don't become a big rapper out of that. A lot of people don't. Most people end up snitching on everybody they came in with and then running for their life because they're trying to avoid a lifetime in prison. Yep. And so, tell the truth about that. I can respect it, but I hold those people accountable. Those people who are misleading the brothers and sisters, the soldiers that are really out here on the front line, misleading them into action when they're not really, doing any action. The Doja Cats of the world and all these people they don't impact me, man. I don't care about what they say.
I feel you. I feel like that's a way of being. I would say that's a way of just being above it. You know what I mean? Kind of it's like what it is. But I just want to say that on that topic, there needs to be a better understanding from the community for herself, people like her, understanding who they are, and being able.
And that's another thing I was gonna say, man. One thing I do empathize with is the void of not having historical context as identity. Mm-hmm. Even as you stated earlier, as being an African American, it's okay, well, I got a white homie, he's German American. He has a flag and he can go back and communicate with his historical context and his language and his native culture in a way in which is not American. I don't necessarily have that bridge to connect with something that's not American. I can just imagine a connection that's African, just in a wide, kind of broad basis. I'm just know I'm African in some kind of manner because of my skin tone, because of the way my hair grows, because of how my nostrils look and how my hair nap when I don't brush it. It's just certain things that just make me know that I'm African. I just don't know what it is. So for people who are mixed, especially who are black and mixed with, white, I see such a spectrum, from the Obamas to the J. Coles to the Logics to the Doja Cats. It's a situation in which it all just depends on what was instilled in them about, each side of their culture as a child. I feel like Obama's parents were very uplifting of all assets of his culture. Like, he's a Muslim. His father is Kenyan. He knows about his African roots. His mother instilled, like, this is your identity. I want to teach you about yourself. So he wasn't able to be swayed by people's outside opinions of who he was or what he should be, because he had a solid foundation. The same with J. Cole. I feel like his mother was ingrained in the hip hop culture, ingrained into a culture in which she was probably surrounded by people of African American descent, and she can borrow context from them, and instill them in her children. And then you have the other spectrum in which, you look at a Drake, in which his mom, his mom might have had odds with his dad for the majority of them coming up. And so Drake deals with a situation in which, he identifies with certain hip hop aspects, certain African American culture, and then he can kind of like be a chameleon back and forth. And then you have people like Doja Cat, who mother, straight up hate her black dad. And so she passed that hate on, like, this is what, black men do. This is how black men treat women. This is how black men will do you if you let black men sway you. And so she grows up not having a father, not having this black man who helped create her, be in her life, and find value in her enough to be around. And man, she grows up with that, so she need help. She's the one, she's crying out by acting out in this manner just like a child. She's crying out for attention. She needs help. I can recognize that. And I think that's a gift of discernment that I have that's helped me throughout my entire career. I can recognize when somebody's bullying because they have more power and they are power drunk. And I can recognize when somebody's bullying because they just need attention and they really hurt on the inside.
Yeah, it definitely makes sense. I feel like when somebody has that limiter placed on them, like by not having that exposure, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
And also, that's like you mentioned, like this happens. We all have a limiter placed on us by not having that exposure to our inherent culture, I guess. And that's also also a reason why I want to say this: Black people, please get your passport. You want to say that? Because look, one of the most important things to do is, even if you can't go to Africa, go to a country where it's majority Black people. Go to the Caribbean. Go to Jamaica. Go to my family's from St. Kitts and Nevis. Go see a country where the white people all left and Black people are governing each other. My dad, when he first came to America, he told me, like, he lives in St. Kitts. He did school in Texas. He moved around. He did the military. You know what I'm saying? His whole thing was like, I first came to America, I wasn't worried about a white cop. We're the one reason why he wasn't worried about it, because he was getting policed by Black people every day. So he just knew, okay, you're just a white one. Okay, cool. I'm not scared of you.
Right.
I've seen people in your power structure that I know where my people who look like me exist in higher levels of that power structure. I'm governed by Black people. I'm living with Black people. I'm saying my teachers are all Black. So like, I feel like I understand Black people. We are missing that the home link. You know what I mean?
Right.
But the more we're able to step outside of the context, travel more, and be able to expose ourselves, not be waiting for them to expose us. You know what I mean? That way we can be able to absorb, you know what I'm saying, certain things, and develop that taste and thirst for that extra piece of knowledge.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely.
So
I
like,
100% agree with that. And I think that we're in a state of time in which, things like this, I don't know. I'm a historian, so I'm reading W.E.B. Du Bois, and you just alluded to the double consciousness of African American, and then Carter G. Woodson and Miseducation. I'm
great
taking
book,
all these
by the way.
perspectives, and yeah, absolutely, man. And I'm taking these perspectives, and the thing that I found to be a repetitive theme of a lot of these books is, we say, okay, well, we have to become knowledgeable of the historical context of our people.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that what we drop the ball at is that we try to take that knowledge and then we try to be effective with that knowledge or that information on platforms not built to necessarily propel our information. And so it makes me, this is very much my personal opinion, but it makes me think very hard when a Black person is being condemned in the public aspect, especially when they've alluded to ownership, because I've realized the power in it. They've never stopped us from writing books, making movies, writing songs. They never. As a matter of fact, those are #1 sellers. Get Out is a #1 seller. It's telling you exactly. Django is a #1 seller. So they don't really necessarily have fear of us sharing the information. They're comfortable in that, but they do express discomfort in us owning the platforms in which the information is being shared. That lets me know there's power in that.
Well, even when let's talk about that power, right? That power comes from that inherent disenfranchisement for us to be able to have the funds to do that. So we're smart enough to be the engineers. We're smart enough to do all these things to be a part of the system.
Right.
But the most important thing is once you step up your power level to mold or create, don't just sell it off for a quick buck. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like the guys who did bevel, the guys who did the black hair care line for like men shaving, right?
With nods and them.
Yeah, they ended up selling to Gillette eventually, right? Mm-hmm. But I feel like that comes from all different platforms. Like we talk about Versus, the music platform right now that Timberlake Sweets are doing.
Right.
They could find a way to develop their own streaming situation or even get their own channel. Like even Nick Cannon has his own channel on Pluto. For all Wild 'N Out, all the things that are associated with. He has like 3 or 4 offshoot shows of Wild 'N Out. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Developing your own network. Like even let's talk about the guy who did Medea. You know what I'm saying? I can't remember his name.
Tyler Perry.
Tyler Perry. Like he has his own lot. People come to him to shoot. Like I said, that ownership standpoint is so important to where people can't push you around, make you censor you. Like you're saying, like anything that we do that has value, we shouldn't be able to shouldn't be forced actually to change how the medium not just exploits it, but pervades it. You know what I mean?
It. Yeah, man. And and I think that like you mentioned about having the funds for it, man. A friend of mine, I would say basically someone I look up to. I wouldn't say he's just someone I look up to, an associate, a mentor, I guess. I didn't want to use the word mentor, but I guess that's a good word in this instance. He just stated that, no matter how old a dollar is or how old money is, it was once new. Mm-hmm. And that's really all. He didn't give me any context to that statement. He just left me with that one morning, and I just sat with it, and it just inspired me to be less reliant on excuses about everything that's going on throughout recent history for our people and everything like that. Like, the English people were once the broke people on this planet, and so I just look at it as a challenge. And I don't really fear the outcome as much as I know that's going to be difficult. I think that's what's holding people back for real is fear. That's not real, because ultimately you will be. I think that fear in the place of regret is always a great option. So
fear can
I'd much rather just try it. I'd much rather just try it. And I think that, all these platforms on the same side of this situation. And so the information that's come out and programmed us to think, okay, well, you're the minority, you can't really, fight back. You don't have enough guns, or you don't have enough voting power, or you don't have enough manpower. I just personally believe the source of that information is one-sided. Whether that information is correct or not is yet to be seen, because I haven't found a source of that information that's supportive of my views. So once I create that platform to where I can go get the information from a source that's aligned with my goals and my views, and I can fact check those things, then I'll be willing to trust that. But other than that, right now, it's just fear. And, you know, I think people can see the needle move enough to be inspired and to be faithful with more action now, because the black vote does matter. The black dollar certainly matters.
Of course.
The black population in this country, this country would not exist if it wasn't for the black community in any manner. And so now that we have access to the knowledge of that power and that credibility, I think that we should just move differently. You know, I think that building a black bank is sustainable because not only do we know that we have enough power with the black dollar to do it, but we also feel like we have enough power to defend it. Unlike, you know, the Oklahoma City situation and the Philadelphia bombing, or even Birmingham in the South and Atlanta in the South, you know, where these black communities were, you know, gaining a little bit of momentum, and they were undermined and undercut by, you know, terrorists. Essentially, I think that's fear tactics. You know, I don't believe that's the situation anymore. I don't believe people can move like that anymore without consequence. And I think that's the way we need to live.
Yeah, brother. I think you have a lot of great points there. Of course, me and you, we go far back, so I know that you're very knowledgeable and you're very smart in the way you think about things, bro. So, like, I totally agree with you on a lot of things. I think the next thing as a people is, you know, continue to build platforms, continue to tell our stories, whether we own them or not, but be able to be very honest with each other. I feel like that's one thing that has always been pervasive in our music. You know what I mean?
Right.
Even though, you know, some people do tend to extrapolate sometimes and exaggerate, but that's a part of the natural storytelling portion of what being
Of
black is,
course.
of our experience, of being that
Of
griot,
course.
if you will, to try to make the story more able to be stuck in your brain.
Yeah, bravado. Yeah, absolutely.
So, like, I just want you to be able to tell people what you're working on now soon. Tell people where they can get your stuff. I know you scrubbed your Instagram for a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Showing your beautiful daughter on there, by the way. But
yeah, man. That's what I do. I normally whenever I get into, so I'm in album mode right now. I'm inspired by the need of information in this time period. I felt like that's what the rapper I came in as, and the rapper I've grown up as and evolved into, is exactly what's needed now. I kind of started where there wasn't necessarily a niche for me, like the overly informed, like, you know, you can get Kanye level with it or Nas level with the information, but it needed to be commercial. I think now people are seeking all the knowledge they can. They don't know what to do. Coronavirus, Donald Trump, and it's just in a situation where everybody's like, okay, I'm questioning this. Did we really go to the moon, or is NCAA even good for my son? And all these things that we thought were just like institutions of our society are being questioned. I think it's a perfect time for somebody with conflicting information. And I have tales of neighborhoods and prison stories of things of how they actually went down that I want to share with people and give them another perspective. I'm not telling you I'm right. I'm telling you what I feel and what's worked for me in my life. And then you can apply that if you're questioning where your faith needs to lie or what you need to do in order to overcome depression, trauma, or things like that. I'm just telling you stories of what worked for me and what worked for the people in my life. And then hopefully you can relate to one or two of the stories through the album and then find value in that. And you know, it's called The Art of Adaptation, by the way. And it's a book and an album combo. And it's just a defense book. It's how to defend yourself from yourself. You are your greatest enemy, whether it's fear, whether it's doubt, whether it's self-consciousness, or whether you don't think enough of yourself. All of these things are self-inflicted. They might have outward or external stimuli. You know, somebody could help you find that in yourself, but you will ultimately have to accept that for yourself. And I'm just writing my my autobiography of how I adapted and how I overcame those things. And hopefully, you know, I can help other people. It's called The Art of Adaptation, man. And I look forward to dropping it towards the end of this summer. I've taken this quarantine time and this kind of like social distancing time, multiplied that with, you know, that was really my demeanor anyway when I got into album mode, because I want to kind of like, I take in the information. I'm out here, I'm thugging in society, walking around. I'm in the neighborhoods. I'm with GDs, vice lords, politicians, doctors, lawyers, teachers, administrators. I'm with all these people, and I'm getting information, and then I'm going to sitting down, and I'm just kind of like painting pictures, almost on a Picasso level, to where like, okay, if I put an eye over here, How does that make you feel? If I put an ear right here, does that inspire you to go somewhere else? And that's all I want to do is I want to provide people with another perspective, man. I think that the power has been in their ability to monopolize the platform of perspectives, man. Like everything has come from Uncle Sam. Yeah. Whether it's about war, whether it's about the dollar bill, whether it's about the U.S. government, and because those things aren't necessarily aligning with action and what we're seeing, it's making you question whether that platform is legit or whether we should seek other sources of information. So I'm just sticking my hand in that hat, man, to provide another outlet. How do we end up here? How do we end up with Donald Trump as a president in a national pandemic, in quarantine, with police murdering kids on camera? Like, what did we go to sleep? And I'm just like, yeah, I think we went to sleep. And then I want to give y'all like a reaccounting of what went down and what I learned from it while I was paying attention, because everybody might not have been paying attention.
Facts. Bro, I really appreciate you for jumping on my podcast. It's been a great conversation. Once again, you will be coming back to Orlando. We will be bringing you back for the Orlando Passport Concert Series.
I look forward to doing another one of these podcasts and coming down there in person, man. You know, anytime.
You already know, bro. You already know. Once again, it's Facts Podcast with my boy D.Horton. His next album coming out the end of July. Beginning of August, that Leo season time period. Once again, we'll catch you later, brother.
All right, man. God bless. Thank you very much.
Thank you.